And now, live from Studio 38 in the world's Roundup City, this is the Great American Podcast. Here's your host, Butch Thurman.
2002 World Champion steer wrestler Sid Steiner is on the program today. Sid, welcome back to the show. How have you been?
Man, I've been doing great. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, it's a pleasure. You know, I didn't realize this, or maybe I had forgotten, but you won the world title in 2002 and then you retired. Was that your plan all along, to retire that year?
You know, I mean, it was always kind of in the back of my mind. My dad did that. My dad won the world title in 1973 in the bull ride, and he was 21 years old, and kind of had other things that he was interested in, and retired right there. And you know, I always thought that was kind of a neat way. I mean, to go out on top. You know, I had rodeoed for 8 years and did a lot of miles, and when that happened for me, you know, my daughter had just been born, and kind of just fell into the same thing as my dad. So it just seemed like the timing was right to move on a little bit.
Talking with Sid Steiner today on the program, your 2002 world champion in the bulldogging. Let's talk about those years, those 8 years. A lot of travel, a lot of horses. Any memories?
You know, it was such a blur because, like I've said in the other deals, I was so focused on the winning to a fault that, you know, I really didn't take a lot of time to look around and enjoy it. And that's, you know, when I talk to young guys coming up on the rodeo deal, they ask for, you know, if I've got any advice, and that's one thing I tell them: hey, stop and smell the roses, look around, enjoy yourself, because really it'll be over before you know it. So, you know, that was a mistake I made, and really the neat thing about my son rodeoing at 18 and 19 years old, I went with him, and I took a lot more time to look around and see things that I hadn't really noticed.
Sid Steiner's on the show today, 2002 world champion in the bulldogging. Let's talk about the Steiner family, rich in rodeo tradition. What is it, 4 or 5 generations now?
Yeah. There have been 5 of us, but we just kind of stuck in a rut. But we like where we're at.
Tell me about the history of the Steiner family. I know, of course, your dad won the world title, and you've got Rocker and Steely competing. You are a world titleist. Just talk about the rich tradition you have in your family.
Yeah, you know, my dad grew up in the rodeo business. When my dad was born, my great-granddad and my granddad had a rodeo production company. And so my dad grew up in it and rode calves, steers, bulls, you know, all the way up from the time he was like 5 years old. And then we sold the rodeo company in the early 80s. So I kind of grew up outside of the rodeo world and found my way back to it when I was 20 years old, and, you know, enjoyed my time doing it. When I retired, I kind of got out, and then now that my kids have taken it up, we're kind of right back in it.
Yeah, talking with Sid Steiner today. Let's talk about your 2 youngsters, Rocker and Steely. Steely's in the barrel racing. Of course, Rocker's making a big name for himself as a bareback rider. I know you got to be proud of your kids.
Hey, I'm a super proud dad, and you know, they both had success, but you know, really to watch the effort that they put in and the time they put in, to see your kids work for something and it pay off is definitely a proud dad moment.
Rocker's had some pretty high scores. He's a high-scoring bareback rider. We see a lot of high scores from Rocker.
Yeah, Rocker's a flashy. He's a real flashy rider. He's got the world record high score at 95. He like I said, he's a flashy kid. He gives 100% when he rides. He doesn't really hold anything back, and he's got a neat style. Man, I'm real proud of him. I love to watch him ride.
Sid Steiner, our guest today on the program, 2002 world champion steer wrestler and one of the coaches for Kid Rock's Rockin' Rodeo, coming up May 17th at Arlington, Texas, in conjunction with the PBR World Finals. Well, let's take a break. Sid, hang on the line. We'll be back in just a minute here on the Great American Podcast.
For the free spirits drawn by the call of the West, only one brand is worthy of coming along for the ride: Wrangler. It's worn by those who round up old friends and blaze new trails, and by those who know that going off the beaten path is often pretty hard to beat. Because when you ride in Wrangler, you're always ready to saddle up for another adventure. Wrangler, for the ride of life.
from Studio 38 and today's Great American Podcast with Butch Thurman.
Speaking with Sid Steiner today, 2002 world champion in the steer wrestling. You're talking about Rocker being a flashy rider. It seems like the Steiners have always been flamboyant. Tell me about that. You had the nickname of Sid Rock. Where'd that come from?
Well, when I was rodeoing, Kid Rock had just kind of come on the scene. I bought his first album and kind of listened to it all that summer, and that's just kind of what everybody started calling me, was Sid Rock, and that was kind of what I was known for. But you know, the Steiners have always kind of been a little bit different. You know, we like flamboyant things. We like to dress different. We'll grow our hair out. It's just we like to have fun with what we're doing. That's the main thing. We try not to take ourselves too serious.
You know, I've had Rocker on a couple of times on the program, a nice young man. It was a funny story. I'd texted him, and a lot of these young up-and-coming kids don't always respond. I texted Rocker, and within 10 or 15 seconds, he responded right back and said, "Let's do the interview now." And so we had a good interview. I really enjoyed that. And he was talking a little bit about that flamboyant style, and but he was also talking about, aren't you neighbors with Taylor Sheridan out of the Yellowstone fame?
Yeah, we sure are. He is my neighbor.
Yeah, and of course, there was a season where the Steiner family was in one of those episodes.
Yeah. Taylor came to me one day. He's a great guy. We've got to be good friends. He came to me one day and said, "Hey, could I get Rocker to ride a bareback horse in an episode of Yellowstone?" Man, sure. I was like, how's that going to fit into Yellowstone? He said, "Don't you worry about that part. I'll figure that part out." So, yeah, he wrote Rocker in and wrote me in, and man, it was a really neat experience. Everybody on that set, all the actors, all the camera people, you know, they're a first class deal. So they treated us good, and we had a good time, and you never know, maybe we'll get to do another one again.
That would be fun. Talking with Sid Steiner today on the program. Well, he's one of the coaches of Kid Rock's Rockin' Rodeo, coming to Arlington Stadium in Texas. That's in May. Tell me about that. Tell me about getting the phone call to be one of the coaches.
Yeah, Sean Gleason of the PBR called me one day and said they had this idea of this team rodeo, and I thought they were going to talk to me about, you know, Rocker participating or whatever, and you know, he just out of the blue, he said, we'd like you to be one of the coaches. And man, honestly, when he told me the rest of the coaches, I was humbled. I was like, man, I'd love, you know, to obviously do anything with that group. But, you know, really the closer this deal gets, you know, I haven't competed in a long time. I mean, I've been competing really through my kids, but to actually have my hands around something that I have something to do with, and I've got Joe Beaver helping me a lot. So, you know, to be able to get back in a game and kind of compete and strategize and figure out where we're going to put pieces to the puzzle, you know, it really has kind of got my competitive juices going again.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's an interesting team-style format, and I like the concept. It's been pretty innovative with Sean Gleason and the PBR.
Yeah, they've done a great job, and getting into this concept, you know, rodeo is such an individual sport, and that's kind of what it always is, which is a lot of good things about that is you really depend solely on yourself. But, you know, we all grew up playing team sports. Most everybody did. And so you kind of miss the camaraderie and the you know, the brotherhood of a team and the locker room feel. So I think to have some of these events and bring these guys together to pull for each other and be on a team again, I mean, everybody I've talked to is super excited about it. And, you know, obviously to bring, you know, a rock star like Kid Rock in the mix and him want to be a part of this and kind of help shape some of it is man, what an honor.
Well, it'll be fun to see Sid Rock with Kid Rock. That would be great. Sid,
well, I hope he didn't mind that I borrowed his nickname a little bit.
Sid, we wish you the best of luck with this when it comes around in May, and that should be exciting. So, best of luck, and thanks for being on the show.
Hey, man, thank you for having me, and look forward to talking to you guys again.
2002 World Champion Steer Wrestler Sid Steiner, Weatherford, Texas. joining us today on the program, and one of the coaches of Kid Rock's Rockin' Rodeo, May 17th, Arlington, Texas. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today. We'll be back again next week here on the Great American Podcast. I'm Butch Thurman.